The diagnostic lights flickered across the bridge of the UES Thunderchild as Captain Jiho Kim studied the holographic display. Humanity's first true deep space warship gleamed in the light of an unfamiliar star, its unique multi-layered hull design reflecting engineering philosophies no other species had considered viable. "Contact approaching, Captain," reported Lieutenant Subin Park from the tactical station. "Configuration matches Vrax patrol vessels." Captain Kim's expression remained neutral as she assessed the situation. The Thunderchild was supposed to be on a diplomatic mission to formally introduce humanity to the Galactic Confederation. No one had mentioned the Vrax, the scourge of 3 sectors. "They're charging weapons," Subin announced, voice steady despite the implications. Kim made her decision in an instant. "Battle stations. Activate countermeasures Suite Alpha. We're not running." The alien vessels opened fire, clearly expecting an easy victory against the primitive newcomers. Their confidence would be their undoing. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency as red alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship. Captain Kim stood tall, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display where 3 Vrax vessels approached in attack formation. "All hands, this is the captain. We are engaging hostile forces. This is not a drill," she announced shipwide. Her voice was calm but firm. The first volley of enemy fire struck the Thunderchild's outer hull. The ship shuddered but held steady. "Minimal damage to outer hull layer," reported Chief Engineer Do Hyun. "Ablative armor performing as designed." The Vrax ships were sleek, predatory vessels with forward-swept wings and weapon ports that glowed with an eerie purple light. They had attacked without warning or provocation, typical of their species, according to the limited intelligence humanity had gathered from Confederation data packets. "They're broadcasting something," Communications Officer Mai-sun said, her fingers dancing across her console. "Translating now." A harsh guttural voice filled the bridge. "Primitive vessel, power down and prepare to be boarded. Resistance is futile against the Vrax Dominion." Captain Kim's lips curved into a slight smile. "Send no response. Tactical, target the lead vessel's propulsion systems. Fire when ready." The Thunderchild's main batteries charged with a low hum. Unlike the energy weapons favored by most galactic powers, humanity had developed a hybrid system. Kinetic rail guns accelerated to near-light speeds, combined with focused plasma projectors. "Firing solution locked," Subin confirmed. "Executing in 3, 2, 1. The ship trembled as the main guns fired. On the display, they watched as 4 hypervelocity rounds struck the lead Vrax ship precisely where its engines connected to the main hull. The alien vessel lurched, purple energy spilling from the wound in its side. "Direct hit," Subin reported, unable to keep a note of satisfaction from her voice. "Enemy vessel's propulsion is compromised." The remaining 2 Vrax ships adjusted their attack pattern, clearly surprised by the effectiveness of human weaponry. Their next barrage was more coordinated, hammering the Thunderchild from multiple angles. The ship rocked violently. Sparks showered from an overhead conduit. Second hull layer breached in sections 5 through 8. Do Hyun called out. "Automatic sealant systems engaging." Captain Kim nodded. The Thunderchild had been built with 6 progressive hull layers, each designed to fail in specific ways that would protect the layers beneath. It was a design philosophy born from thousands of years of human warfare, the understanding that damage was inevitable and that surviving damage was often more important than avoiding it completely. "Helm, execute evasive pattern Echo," Kim ordered. "Let's not make it easy for them." The massive warship moved with surprising agility, rolling to present its least damaged side to the enemy while maintaining weapons lock. The Vrax ships followed, but their targeting solutions were constantly disrupted by the Thunderchild's unpredictable movements. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the damaged Vrax vessel," Science Officer Tai Yong reported. "They appear to be charging some sort of high-energy weapon." Kim's eyes narrowed. "Defensive screens to maximum. All hands brace for impact." The damaged Vrax ship glowed brilliantly for a moment before releasing a searing beam of energy that cut through space toward the Thunderchild. The human vessel's defensive screens flared blinding white as they absorbed the tremendous energy. "Screens holding at 20%, Du Hyun reported, his voice tight. "One more hit like that, and we're exposed." Captain Kim's mind raced. The Vrax clearly outmatched them in raw firepower, but the Thunderchild had been built with one advantage that humanity had always relied upon: adaptability. "Execute contingency protocol Chimera," she ordered. Her officers exchanged quick glances. They had practiced this maneuver in simulations, but never expected to use it in actual combat. "Aye, Captain." "Deploying decoy drones and preparing for blackout," Subin confirmed. Dozens of small drones ejected from the Thunderchild's hull, each broadcasting an exact duplicate of the ship's energy signature. Simultaneously, the warship's main systems powered down, leaving only minimal life support and passive sensors online. From the Vrax's perspective, the human vessel appeared to fracture into multiple targets, each indistinguishable from the real ship. In the confusion, the Thunderchild drifted, appearing crippled. The bridge was bathed in the dim red glow of emergency lighting. The crew worked silently at their stations, tracking the Vrax vessels on passive sensors as they split up to pursue the decoys. "They're taking the bait," whispered my son. Captain Kim allowed herself a small smile. "Begin power-up sequence for weapons. Target both remaining active vessels." The Thunderchild's systems came back online just as the nearest Vrax ship passed within optimal firing range, its attention focused on one of the decoys. "Fire all batteries," Kim ordered. The dark ship suddenly blazed with energy as every weapon fired simultaneously. The nearest Vrax vessel was caught completely unprepared, its shields oriented toward the decoy rather than the real threat. Kinetic rounds tore through its hull, while plasma beams melted critical systems. The alien ship detonated in a spectacular purple fireball. The last Vrax vessel immediately changed course, abandoning its pursuit of the decoys and focusing all weapons on the Thunderchild. But the human ship was already moving, its engines pushing to maximum acceleration. "They're calling for reinforcements," my son reported, listening to intercepted transmissions. Kim nodded. "Then we need to end this quickly. Tactical, prepare the APX missile." A hush fell over the bridge. The APX was humanity's ace, a missile containing an artificially generated microsingularity. It had never been used in actual combat. "APX missile armed and ready," Subin confirmed. "Awaiting your command." The Vrax ship fired again, its energy weapons carving into the Thunderchild's already damaged hull. Warning alarms blared across the bridge. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Du Hyun shouted. "Emergency bulkheads engaged." Captain Kim's expression hardened. "Fire APX missile." A single projectile launched from the Thunderchild's bow, accelerating rapidly toward the enemy vessel. The Vrax ship attempted evasive maneuvers, but the missile adjusted its course, guided by quantum-entangled sensors that predicted its target's movements. When it detonated, there was no explosion in the conventional sense. Instead, space itself seemed to warp around the Vrax vessel. The alien ship contorted impossibly as it was drawn toward the temporary gravitational anomaly, compressing until it simply ceased to exist. Silence fell over the bridge as the crew stared at the empty space where their enemy had been moments before. "All enemy vessels neutralized," Subin finally reported, her voice barely above a whisper. Captain Kim exhaled slowly. "Damage report. Multiple hull breaches, but all critical systems are functional," Du Hyun replied. "The ship performed exactly as designed." Kim nodded and turned to communications. "My son, send a message to Earth Command. Inform them that we've made first contact with the Vrax. And let the Confederation know we're still coming to their meeting. We'll just be a little late." As the Thunderchild limped away from the battlefield, the crew knew that everything had changed. Humanity had just announced their presence to the galaxy not with words, but with the universal language of survival against overwhelming odds. The stars seemed to shine a little differently now. The galaxy would never be the same. Impossible, muttered Admiral Ta Wu of the Confederation Defense Council, reviewing the battle footage for the third time. No ship has survived first contact with a Vrax battle group, let alone one from a species with less than a century of space travel. The human delegation stood proudly as technical specifications of the Thunderchild were displayed. Engineering Director He Jun Lee pointed to the ship's nested redundancy systems. Our history is filled with warfare, He Jun explained. We build expecting things to fail under stress. We design for survival first, optimal performance second. The gathered aliens exchanged troubled glances. Your weapons use ballistic principles alongside energy weapons, noted a six-limbed analyst. Primitive, yet our scanners couldn't predict their trajectories. Captain Kim smiled. Sometimes the old ways work best when combined with new thinking. The great assembly hall of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with excited chatter. Representatives from over 200 species filled the circular chamber, their attention fixed on the central holographic display. It showed the UES Thunderchild, spinning slowly so all could see its battle-scarred hull. Admiral Ta Wu, a respected veteran of 3 major conflicts, could not hide his amazement. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep confusion among his species. "Play it again," he ordered, leaning forward in his hover chair. The footage began once more. 3 Vrax warships approached the lone human vessel. Energy weapons fired. The Thunderchild took hits that should have destroyed it instantly. Yet not only did it survive, it managed to defeat all 3 attackers. The Vrax have destroyed every first contact ship for the past 3 centuries, said a counselor from the methane-breathing Gorvan. They do this to establish dominance. No species has ever survived their greeting. Captain Jiho Kim stood calmly alongside her engineering director, He Jun Lee, and science officer Ta Yong Kang. The 3 humans seemed remarkably casual given the circumstances. Their ship had just shattered centuries of Vrax military superiority. Perhaps it was luck, suggested a tall, willowy representative from the Ellerin Collective. He Jun Lee stepped forward. Not luck. Design. His voice was steady as he gestured to the hologram. The image zoomed in to show the multi-layered hull structure of the Thunderchild. "We call this the ablative onion approach," He Jun explained. 6 progressive hull layers, each designed to fail in specific ways that protect what lies beneath. He touched a control panel, and the image shifted to show damage simulations. When the outer layer is struck, it doesn't just break. It absorbs and redirects energy away from critical systems. Admiral Ta Wu's translator struggled with some of the technical terms, but the concept was clear enough. "You expect to be hit," he said. "Exactly," Captain Kim replied. "Our military philosophy assumes damage is inevitable. The question is not if you'll be hit, but how you'll function after being hit." This concept clearly disturbed many of the assembled delegates. Most Confederation ship designs focused on preventing damage entirely through superior shields and evasive capabilities. "May I?" asked a 6-limbed Krith analyst named Vextar, approaching the display controls. Captain Kim nodded. The insectoid alien manipulated the controls with his multiple appendages, zooming in on the Thunderchild's weapon systems. "These are physical projectiles," Vextar noted, pointing to the ship's main batteries. "Solid metal, accelerated to extreme velocities. Primitive compared to energy weapons. And yet," he called up the battle data, "our sensors could not establish a reliable tracking pattern. The trajectories changed in ways that defied prediction algorithms." He Jun smiled. "Each shell contains a small guidance system with randomized course corrections. No 2 follow the same path, even when fired at the same target. But the energy cost of accelerating physical matter to such speeds," began another delegate. "Is significant," Ta Yong interrupted. "But kinetic impacts ignore many energy dispersal defense systems. The Vrak's shields were calibrated to diffuse energy weapons, not stop solid objects moving at 40% light speed. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. The Vraks had dominated space for centuries through technological superiority and aggressive expansion. Their ships were considered the pinnacle of offensive capability. Yet these humans, newcomers to the galactic stage, had defeated them with technology that most advanced species had abandoned millennia ago. Admiral Ta Wu floated his hover chair closer to the human delegation. The Vraks will come for your world now. They never forget a defeat. Captain Kim's expression remained neutral. We are counting on it. This statement sent another wave of murmurs through the assembly. You want the Vraks to attack Earth? Asked a horrified representative of the peaceful Lunari. Not want, clarified Kim. Expect. There's a difference. We have been preparing defensive systems since we first learned of the Vraks from your information packets. Hajum directed the hologram to display Earth's orbital defense network. Thousands of satellites and stations formed a complex grid around the planet. Another human innovation, he explained. Distributed defense. No central command to target. Each unit can function independently or as part of the whole. The Confederation military experts in attendance moved closer, their interest obvious. Such a defense concept was foreign to most galactic powers, who typically built large, powerful defense stations at strategic points. Your species thinks differently, said Admiral Ta Wu, his voice carrying a new note of respect. You mentioned your history of warfare. Tai Yong stepped forward. Humans have fought each other for most of our recorded history. Unlike many species who evolved toward greater cooperation, we maintained both competitive and cooperative instincts. This shaped our approach to technology and strategy. He displayed images from human military history, ancient formations of soldiers, medieval castles, World War trenches, modern aircraft carriers. We learned through bitter experience that superior technology doesn't guarantee victory. Adaptation, redundancy, and expecting the unexpected have kept human military forces effective against seemingly superior opponents. A very tall, thin alien with crystalline features spoke up. This explains much about your ship design. You brought Stone Age thinking to space combat. Some delegates laughed, but Captain Kim didn't take offense. Exactly right, she replied, surprising the crystalline being. When everyone else moved to pure energy weapons, we kept developing kinetic ones too. When shield technology became standard, we continued improving our armor, not because we couldn't build better shields, but because we believe in having multiple survival pathways. Admiral Ta Wu had heard enough. He raised his upper limbs for silence, a gesture of authority recognized throughout the Confederation. The Vraks have declared your species enemies of their dominion, he announced. This would normally be a death sentence for a young spacefaring race, but perhaps, he paused, all four eyes focusing on Captain Kim. Perhaps humanity brings something new to this ancient conflict. He turned to address the full assembly. I propose we form a military information exchange with Earth. The humans clearly have unique approaches that may benefit our defensive capabilities. The vote was not unanimous, but the majority approved. Several species abstained, unwilling to risk Vrak's attention by associating too closely with the newcomers. As the session ended, Admiral Ta Wu approached Captain Kim privately. Your ship shouldn't have survived, he said quietly. Kim smiled. That's what the Vraks thought too. They will come with dreadnoughts next time. World killers. We know, Kim replied. We're counting on that too. The Admiral's skin shifted color slightly, a sign of puzzlement in his species. You humans are either the bravest or the most foolish species I've encountered in 2 centuries of service. History suggests we're both, said Kim. But we're also survivors. The Vraks are about to learn what happens when you corner a species that evolved as both predator and prey. As the human delegation departed for their temporary quarters, the Confederation's military analysts were already poring over the Thunderchild's battle data, seeing warfare through new eyes. Something fundamental had changed in the galactic balance of power. A species that should have been easy prey had proven to be anything but. The Vrax would not take this insult lightly. War was coming, but for the first time in centuries, the outcome didn't seem quite so certain. 3 months later, the Thunderchild floated in a massive Confederation drydock. Alien engineers worked alongside humans, integrating technologies previously thought incompatible. Commander Yun-Ji Cho supervised the installation of advanced shield harmonics while teaching a group of beetle-like crash engineers about human damage control protocols. "You prepare for failure at every level," chittered the lead crash engineer. "It's inefficient, but effective," Yun-Ji finished. "Humanity survived because we learned from disasters." Across the station, Captain Kim met with representatives from 7 species, planning their response to increased Vrax aggression. The emergency alert sounded before they could finalize their strategy. A border colony was under attack. The partially upgraded Thunderchild would face its greatest test yet. The massive Confederation drydock hummed with activity. Floating in the center, the UES Thunderchild looked different than it had 3 months ago. New technology jutted from its hull at odd angles. Panels glowed with colors humans had never seen before. It was a ship caught between 2 technological worlds. Commander Yun-Ji Cho floated in a zero-gravity section of the outer hull, her magnetic boots disengage. She watched as 3 crash engineers worked to integrate their crystalline shield technology with the Thunderchild's power systems. The beetle-like aliens moved with precise, efficient motions, their compound eyes glittering in the light of their welding tools. "This connection won't hold under full combat stress," chittered Zadok, the lead crash engineer. Her mandibles clicked together in what Yun-Ji had learned was a sign of frustration. "Your power fluctuations will shatter our harmonic resonators." Yun-Ji smiled inside her helmet. "That's why we're adding these." She gestured to a human technician who floated forward with a box of small devices. "Power buffers. They'll absorb the spikes and smooth the delivery." Zatek took one of the devices, turning it in her clawed appendages. Crude, inefficient. But she paused, her antennae twitching as she analyzed it. "It might work." "That's humanity's specialty," Yun-Ji said. "Solutions that aren't elegant but get the job done." The crash engineer made a sound that the translator rendered as a laugh. "You prepare for failure at every level. It's inefficient, but effective," Yun-Ji finished. "Humanity survived because we learned from disasters." She gestured to the scared sections of the hull, damage from the battle with the Vrax that had not yet been fully repaired. "Every failure taught us something. Now we build those lessons into everything we make." Zatek's compound eyes seemed to study Yun-Ji for a long moment. "My people perfect a system until it cannot fail. You accept that all systems will fail and prepare for that moment instead. There is wisdom in both approaches. That's why this alliance makes sense," Yun-Ji said. "We complement each other." Their conversation was interrupted by a message from Yun-Ji's comm unit. "Commander Cho, please report to the command center. Captain Kim requests your presence." Yun-Ji reactivated her magnetic boots and nodded to Zadok. "Duty calls. Can you finish the installation?" "Of course," chittered the crash engineer. "We'll make your inefficient ship slightly less likely to explode." Yun-Ji laughed as she made her way toward the airlock. The various alien species all had different ways of expressing humor, but she'd grown fond of the crash's direct approach. The command center of the drydock was a large, circular room with a central holographic projector. When Yun-Ji arrived, she found Captain Kim standing with representatives from 7 different species. The tension in the room was palpable. "Commander Cho, good timing," Captain Kim said. "We were just discussing fleet organization for the defense of the Kepler sector." The hologram showed a star system with several planets and many small dots representing ships. Yun-Ji recognized it as one of the border regions between Confederation space and Vrax territory. An Elloran representative, tall and willowy with silver skin, pointed to a cluster of ships. "The Vrax have increased patrols along these routes. They're testing our responses, looking for weaknesses. They always do that before a major offensive, added Admiral Tawu, now a strong advocate for the Human Confederation Alliance. The question is where they'll strike first. Captain Kim studied the display thoughtfully. They'll go for a symbolic target, something to show the Alliance is weak. A reptilian Drakor military commander hissed in agreement. The human assessment aligns with our intelligence. The Vraks understand psychological warfare. They will target a location that, if lost, would damage morale throughout the Confederation. What about the colony on Proxima Centauri? Suggested Unji. It's one of humanity's first extrasolar settlements, strategically minor but symbolically important. The alien representatives exchanged glances. The Ellerin spoke first. Unlikely. The Vraks wouldn't waste resources on a target with no strategic value. Before anyone could respond, a loud alarm began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the command center. A voice came over the station-wide announcement system. Alert! Alert! Vrak's fleet detected entering the Helios system. Colony under attack. All available ships respond immediately. The holographic display shifted to show the Helios system, home to one of the oldest and most populated Confederation colonies, located at a crucial wormhole junction that connected 3 different sectors. Helios Gate, Admiral Tawu said quietly. If they take control of the wormhole, they can strike anywhere in 3 sectors without warning. Finished, the Drakor commander. Captain Kim was already moving toward the exit. Commander Cho, get back to the Thunderchild. Prepare for immediate departure. Captain, the ship's upgrades aren't complete, Yeonji protested. The new shield systems haven't been properly calibrated, and the weapons integration is only at 60%. We don't have a choice, Kim said firmly. Every ship that can fight needs to be at Helios Gate. Admiral Tawu floated over to them. Captain Kim, the Thunderchild is not ready for another engagement with the Vraks, especially not against the force they've sent to Helios. How big is the attacking force? Kim asked. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of distress. Initial reports indicate at least 30 vessels, including... He paused. Including the Worldbreaker. A hush fell over the command center. Even Unji, who wasn't familiar with all Vraks vessels, recognized that name. The Worldbreaker was the Vraks flagship, a massive dreadnought that had destroyed entire planets during previous conflicts. All the more reason for us to go, Kim said firmly. The Thunderchild has beaten Vraks ships before. The Alliance needs that symbol of hope right now. The Elleran representative stepped forward. Captain Kim, this is suicide. Your ship barely survived an encounter with 3 Vraks vessels. The Worldbreaker has never been defeated. Kim smiled. There's a first time for everything. 2 hours later, the Thunderchild pulled away from the dry dock, its engines glowing with a new blue-white light, the result of Confederation technology enhancements. Around it, 5 other ships formed a loose protective formation. It was a small force compared to what they would face at Helios Gate, but it was all that could be made ready in time. On the bridge, Yeonji took her station at the engineering console. The displays showed numerous systems still in various states of calibration. Warning indicators flashed across her screen. Engineering status. Captain Kim asked from the command chair. Functional but unstable, Yeonji reported honestly. The new shield harmonics are operating at 40% efficiency. Weapons integration is incomplete. Power distribution is creative. Kim nodded. Can we fight? Yeonji glanced at Sadik, who had insisted on coming aboard to monitor the Kresh shield technology. The alien engineer chittered something that didn't translate, but her meaning was clear enough. We can fight, Captain, Yeonji confirmed. I can't promise how long we'll last, but we'll make the Vraks remember us. That's all I ask, Kim said. She turned to the helm. Set course for Helios Gate. Maximum speed. As the small fleet accelerated toward the wormhole that would take them to the battle, Yeonji found herself watching Captain Kim. The captain's face showed no fear, only determination. It was the same expression she had worn when they faced the first Vrax patrol months ago. "Commander Cho," Kim said, catching Yunji's look. "Do you know why I named this ship the Thunderchild?" Yunji shook her head. "It's from an old Earth story, a small human vessel that charged directly at a vastly superior alien warship. It didn't win, but it showed that humans would never surrender without a fight." Kim smiled slightly. "I always thought it was just a good story. Now, I think it might have been prophecy." The wormhole loomed ahead, a swirling vortex of blue-white energy. Beyond it lay the Helios system, the massive Vrax fleet, and the dreaded Worldbreaker. "All hands," Captain Kim announced shipwide. "Prepare for combat. We are about to make history." The Thunderchild entered the wormhole, its hybrid human-alien technology pulsing with energy. Whether they would emerge victorious or be destroyed, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same after this day. The space around Helios Gate Wormhole Junction erupted with weapons fire. The Vrax dreadnought, a 15-kilometer monstrosity, moved inexorably toward the colony. "Execute Pattern Delta," ordered Captain Kim over the fleet channel. "Thunderchild will draw their fire." The human vessel darted forward, seeming to present itself as an easy target. The Vrax commander took the bait, diverting significant firepower toward the annoying human ship that had damaged their reputation. Chief Engineer Min-Ho Lee held on as the ship shuddered under multiple impacts. "Hull integrity at 60%, he reported. "Exactly as projected." The holographic display shifted to show the Helios system, home to one of the oldest and most populated Confederation colonies, located at a crucial wormhole junction that connected 3 different sectors. "Helios Gate," Admiral Ta Wu said quietly. "If they take control of the wormhole, they can strike anywhere in 3 sectors without warning," finished the Dracor commander. Captain Kim was already moving toward the exit. "Commander Cho, get back to the Thunderchild. Prepare for immediate departure." "Captain, the ship's upgrades aren't complete," Yunju protested. "The new shield systems haven't been properly calibrated, and the weapons integration is only at 60%. "We don't have a choice," Kim said firmly. "Every ship that can fight needs to be at Helios Gate." Admiral Ta Wu floated over to them. "Captain Kim, the Thunderchild is not ready for another engagement with the Vrax, especially not against the force they've sent to Helios." "How big is the attacking force?" Kim asked. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of distress. "Initial reports indicate at least 30 vessels, including—" He paused. "Including the Worldbreaker." A hush fell over the command center. Even Unji, who wasn't familiar with all Vrax vessels, recognized that name. The Worldbreaker was the Vrax flagship, a massive dreadnought that had destroyed entire planets during previous conflicts. "All the more reason for us to go," Kim said firmly. "The Thunderchild has beaten Vrax ships before. The Alliance needs that symbol of hope right now." The Elloren representative stepped forward. "Captain Kim, this is suicide. Your ship barely survived an encounter with 3 Vrax vessels. The Worldbreaker has never been defeated." Kim smiled. "There's a first time for everything." 2 hours later, the Thunderchild pulled away from the drydock, its engines glowing with a new blue-white light, the result of Confederation technology enhancements. Around it, 5 other ships formed a loose protective formation. It was a small force compared to what they would face at Helios Gate, but it was all that could be made ready in time. On the bridge, Yunji took her station at the engineering console. The displays showed numerous systems still in various states of calibration. Warning indicators flashed across her screen. "Engineering status," Captain Kim asked from the command chair. "Functional but unstable," Yunji reported honestly. "The new shield harmonics are operating at 40% efficiency. Weapons integration is incomplete. Power distribution is creative." Kim nodded. "Can we fight?" Yunji glanced at Sadik, who had insisted on coming aboard to monitor the crash shield technology. The alien engineer chittered something that didn't translate, but her meaning was clear enough. "We can fight," Captain Yunji confirmed. "I can't promise how long we'll last, but we'll make the Vraks remember us." "That's all I ask," Kim said. She turned to the helm. "Set course for Helios Gate. Maximum speed." As the small fleet accelerated toward the wormhole that would take them to the battle, Yunji found herself watching Captain Kim. The captain's face showed no fear, only determination. It was the same expression she had worn when they faced the first Vraks patrol months ago. "Commander Cho," Kim said, catching Yunji's look. "Do you know why I named this ship the Thunderchild?" Yunji shook her head. "It's from an old Earth story, a small human vessel that charged directly at a vastly superior alien warship. It didn't win, but it showed that humans would never surrender without a fight." Kim smiled slightly. "I always thought it was just a good story. Now I think it might have been prophecy." The wormhole loomed ahead, a swirling vortex of blue-white energy. Beyond it lay the Helios system, the massive Vraks fleet, and the dreaded Worldbreaker. "All hands," Captain Kim announced shipwide. "Prepare for combat. We are about to make history." The Thunderchild entered the wormhole, its hybrid human-alien technology pulsing with energy. Whether they would emerge victorious or be destroyed, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same after this day. The space around Helios Gate Wormhole Junction erupted with weapons fire. The Vraks dreadnought, a 15-kilometer monstrosity, moved inexorably toward the colony. "Execute Pattern Delta," ordered Captain Kim over the fleet channel. "Thunderchild will draw their fire." The human vessel darted forward, seeming to present itself as an easy target. The Vraks commander took the bait, diverting significant firepower toward the annoying human ship that had damaged their reputation. Chief Engineer Min-Ho Lee held on as the ship shuddered under multiple impacts. "Hull integrity at 60%, he reported. "Exactly as projected." A harsh, guttural voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, this is Supreme Commander Vexkar of the Vraks Dominion. You fight with unexpected skill for primitives. Withdraw now, and we will spare your homeworld when we eventually reach it." Kim exchanged glances with her officers before responding. "Supreme Commander, this is Captain Jeho Kim. We will accept nothing less than your complete surrender." There was a pause before the Vraks commander responded with what the translator interpreted as laughter. "Surrender. To insects. The Worldbreaker has never been defeated." "There's a first time for everything," Kim replied, cutting the connection. She turned to tactical. "Status of the Vraks escort vessels. Engaged by Pax Delta and Epsilon," Subin reported. "They're holding their own, but can't assist the Worldbreaker." "Perfect." Kim studied the tactical display, where the massive dreadnought was now surrounded by Confederation ships attacking from all sides. "Prepare final assault pattern. All remaining APEX missiles to be fired simultaneously with the Confederation's main battery weapons." The coordinated attack, when it came, was unlike anything seen before in the long history of the Galactic Confederation. Ships of a dozen different designs, using technologies developed across thousands of years by different species, fired as one. The Thunderchild's APEX missiles struck first, creating gravitational disruptions that weakened the Worldbreaker's structural integrity. Then came energy beams, plasma torpedoes, quantum disruptors, a symphony of destruction focused on a single target. For a moment, it seemed as if even this wouldn't be enough. The Worldbreaker's armor glowed white-hot but held. Then, slowly at first, but with increasing speed, cracks began to appear along its hull. Secondary explosions blossomed across its surface. "They're losing containment on their main power core," Min-Ho reported excitedly. "Chain reaction imminent." "All ships withdraw to safe distance," Kim ordered. "Repeat, all ships withdraw immediately." The Confederation fleet scattered just in time. The Worldbreaker's power core detonated in a blinding flash that momentarily outshone the system's sun. When the light faded, Only debris remained where the mighty dreadnought had been. The remaining Vrax vessels, seeing their flagship destroyed, broke formation and fled toward the wormhole. Silence fell over the Thunderchild's bridge, broken only by the beeping of damaged systems. Then cheers erupted from every station as the reality of what they had accomplished sank in. The world breaker is destroyed, Subin confirmed, her voice filled with wonder. We did it, Captain. Kim nodded, allowing herself a small smile. Send word to Admiral Tawu. The Helios colony is secure. As damage reports came in and the crew began emergency repairs, Kim gazed at the view screen showing the scattered Confederation fleet regrouping. Ships that had never worked together before had just achieved the impossible, following a human battle plan that defied conventional galactic military wisdom. No one had expected victory. They had achieved it anyway. And the galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the Battle of Helios Gate, a new academy opened on Earth. Captain Kim, now Admiral Kim, watched as the first class of mixed-species cadets arrived for training. They still don't quite understand us, murmured Vice Admiral Jae Sung-Lee, her second in command. They don't need to understand us completely, Jae-ho replied. They just need to understand that different evolutionary paths create different strengths. Across the galaxy, shipyards incorporated human design principles into new vessels. The Vrax had retreated to their core systems, suddenly cautious of the species they had dismissed as easy prey. A young cadet approached Admiral Kim with a question about tactics. She was Kreshik, a species known for their logical thinking. Why did you not flee when outmatched? The alien asked. Because humans have never accepted impossible odds, Kim answered simply. And now, neither does the galaxy. The morning sun shone brightly over the sprawling campus of the newly established Interspecies Defense Academy. Located in what was once called New Zealand, the Academy's buildings blended Earth architecture with elements from a dozen alien cultures. Crystal spires rose alongside concrete structures. Living buildings grown by Ellerin botanists shared space with traditional human brick and steel. Admiral Jae-ho Kim stood on a viewing platform, watching shuttles descend from orbit. Each carried cadets from different worlds across the Confederation. After the Battle of Helios Gate, Earth had gone from a curiosity to the center of a new galactic military doctrine. Quite a sight, isn't it? Said Vice Admiral Jae Sung-Lee, joining her at the railing. Once Kim's chief tactical officer on the Thunderchild, Lee had been promoted after the battle and now served as her second-in-command at the Academy. I never imagined this when we left Earth for that first diplomatic mission, Kim replied. She watched as a shuttle door opened, revealing 6 cadets of different species carefully navigating Earth's gravity. Some wore exoskeletons to support their bodies in the unfamiliar environment. They still don't quite understand us, murmured Lee, observing a group of Kresh cadets chittering excitedly as they examined a simple concrete bench. I heard one of the Dracor instructors complaining that our training protocols are chaotically organized. Kim smiled. They don't need to understand us completely. They just need to understand that different evolutionary paths create different strengths. Below them, a tall, willowy Ellerin was helping a squat, heavy-gravity species adjust their support belt. 2 years ago, these species would never have interacted directly. The alliance that had formed around humanity had changed everything. The latest reports from the border sectors showed no Vrax activity beyond their core systems. Lee noted, changing the subject. Intelligence suggests they're rebuilding their fleet. And studying our tactics, Kim added. They won't underestimate us next time. Us, Lee repeated with a smile. Not just humans anymore, is it? Kim looked out at the diverse group of cadets. It never should have been just us. The Confederation had all the pieces they needed to defeat the Vrax. They just needed someone to show them how to put those pieces together. A chime sounded, signaling that orientation would begin soon. Kim straightened her uniform and prepared to address the first class of the Academy. As she turned to leave, an aide approached with a data tablet. Admiral, The newest ship designs from the Joint Confederation Earth Engineering Corps, the aide said, offering the tablet. Kim paused to examine the schematics. The new vessels incorporated the best of various species technologies: Kresh crystalline shields, Ellerin biological components, Dracor power systems, and human multi-layered hull designs. Most importantly, they were designed to work together in wolfpack formations, complementing each other's strengths and compensating for weaknesses. Has the UES Thunderchild I completed its trials? Kim asked. Yes, Admiral. Commander Cho reports all systems functioning at optimal levels. The ship is ready for its first official mission. Kim nodded with satisfaction. The original Thunderchild had been decommissioned after Helios Gate, too damaged to repair fully. Now it stood as a monument in orbit around Earth, a reminder of the battle that had changed everything. The assembly hall was filled to capacity when Kim took the stage. Nearly 500 cadets from 37 species sat in specially designed seats to accommodate their various physiologies. Some breathed different atmospheric mixtures through masks. Others required higher or lower gravity sections. Despite these differences, they were united by a common purpose. Welcome to Earth, Kim began. 1 year ago, many of your worlds had never heard of humanity. Now we stand together as the foundation of a new approach to galactic security. She gestured to a holographic display showing the Battle of Helios Gate. The image zoomed in on the Thunderchild as it faced the massive Vrax dreadnought. What you see here is not just a victory of weapons or technology. It is a victory of perspective. For too long, the species of the Confederation developed in isolation, perfecting their own approaches but never truly learning from each other. The hologram shifted to show the multi-species fleet executing the Wolfpack maneuver around the Worldbreaker. At this academy, you will learn not just human tactics or your own species' traditional methods, but a new approach that draws from all our collective wisdom. You will learn to see problems from perspectives your evolution never prepared you for. A murmur ran through the audience. For many of these species, the idea of abandoning their traditional military doctrine was revolutionary. Some had military traditions spanning thousands of years. I know this will not be easy, Kim continued. Some of you come from worlds where the very concept of warfare is approached differently than we approach it on Earth. But that is precisely why this alliance works. Our differences are not weaknesses, they are our greatest strength. As Kim concluded her speech and the cadets dispersed to their assigned dormitories, she noticed a young Kreshik waiting patiently to speak with her. The Kreshik were a reptilian species known for their logical, methodical approach to problems. They had initially been skeptical of the alliance, but had joined after seeing the results at Helios Gate. Admiral Kim, the Kreshik said, her voice translated through a small device at her throat. I am Cadet Siri. I have studied the Battle of Helios Gate extensively, but there is one aspect I cannot resolve logically. What's that, Cadet? Kim asked. When the Thunderchild first encountered the Vrax patrol, you were outmatched by every measurable standard. The logical choice was to retreat and preserve your vessel. Yet you engage. The Kreshik's head tilted slightly. Why did you not flee when outmatched? Kim considered the question carefully. She had been asked this many times over the past year by journalists, diplomats, and military analysts. Because humans have never accepted impossible odds, Kim answered simply. And now, neither does the galaxy. The Kreshik blinked slowly, processing this. This defies logical risk assessment. Sometimes the greatest risk is accepting what seems inevitable, Kim replied. Throughout human history, our greatest achievements came when someone refused to accept limitations that everyone else believed were fixed. As months passed, the Academy grew into a true melting pot of galactic military thought. Human instructors taught alongside experts from across the Confederation. Training exercises combined the precision of Kresh tactics with the adaptability of human approaches. Engineering classes blended technologies that had previously been considered incompatible. On the Academy's parade ground, cadets practiced physical training adapted to Earth's gravity. Some species struggled while others excelled, but they all learned to compensate for their different physiologies by working together. In orbital shipyards, the first generation of truly hybrid vessels took shape. They incorporated redundant systems inspired by human designs alongside the elegant efficiency of alien technology. Most importantly, they were built specifically to function as parts of a greater whole, rather than as independent units. Reports from the borders indicated that the Vraks had begun testing these new defenses with small incursions. Each time, they were met with coordinated responses that drove them back without a single Confederation casualty. In the darkness of deep space, Vraks commanders now approached human-controlled sectors with caution. The species they had once dismissed as primitive now had a name in their language that translated roughly to the impossible prey. Enemies who did not know when they should lose. Admiral Kim stood in her office late one evening, looking out at the stars. The same stars that had once seemed to limit humanity now represented endless possibilities. On her desk sat reports from Confederation worlds that had adopted human educational approaches, human agriculture techniques, human medical practices. The military alliance had opened doors to cultural exchange that benefited everyone. A message alert chimed softly. It was from the Thunderchild II, currently on patrol near what had once been contested space. Commander Ian Jicho, now the ship's captain, reported that several Vraks vessels had approached the border before quickly retreating when detected. Kim smiled. The Vraks were learning. So was the Confederation. So was humanity. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be.